Excellent, got it.
Toyota's Safety Sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing, you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
Playing more than one sport
Made me a better striker.
A better pitcher.
a better defender.
Better passer.
Playing different sports,
Improves teamwork.
creativity,
Confidence.
Confidence.
and motivation.
So change it up.
Playing
More sports,
Will only make you better.
better.
better
Better.
in your own sport.
Good evening and welcome to TD Place in the nation's capital. We are moments away from kickoff with the Ottawa Fury looking to take care of business tonight against AS Blainville. Definitely a lot as the winner will face Toronto FC in the semifinals.
Up the post, cutting back. Johnson surpassed the individual. The Vancouver Whitecaps. Montreal Impact. Toronto FC right into the dash. Blainville is on the road here. What's it on for Ottawa Fury? It's your responsibility.
This is a tournament that gives you the chance to play in the Champions League, and I think that's everyone's dream.
What interested me in Blainville in the last match was how aggressive they played, how physical they played against Ottawa Fury, and that took them off guard. It seemed that Ottawa Fury weren't ready for the amount of physical threat that Blainville was going to be throughout the whole match.
On sait qu'on a perdu le premier match quand même 1-0 là. On a quand même une bonne marge de travail à faire quand même pour au moins remporter ce deuxième match. On vient pas ici pour être spectateur, pour faire 1-1 ou juste rester sur le terrain. On vient vraiment ici pour gagner le match et peut-être se qualifier pour le prochain tour.
You've seen it, around the world. Upsets from underdogs in these tournaments, and these are the type of tournaments you don't take lightly. Every team is here to compete. We were once upon a time the underdogs playing against the TFC's Vancouver Whitecaps, and we actually proved them wrong at our home ground.
I really don't approach any team as if they're lower than another team. It's a game at the end of the day, and anyone can win.
Il va falloir qu'on soit très très combatif, il va falloir qu'on réussisse à rentrer dans le match sans être intimidé par l'environnement, ce stade qui est aussi grand et dans lequel on n'a pas l'habitude d'évoluer. Déjà, dans un premier temps, s'accrocher à ça et par la suite pouvoir espérer et être un petit peu plus offensif que la dernière fois où on l'a été seulement sur 45 minutes et pas sur le match au complet.
I would expect Fury to keep their heads, try to stay calm throughout this game, and look to see out the competition and try to get to the semifinal.
We are moments away here, and the referee blows his whistle, and we are underway. The Fury in possession here.
The project is to bring a lot of Canadian players, trying to become the reference of Canadian football.
If you look at the squad that Nicola and Julian have put together, I think 17 Canadians now.
Having a lot of Canadian content, it allows us to be happy about something that we believe in.
Oh, that's great skill from Reed. He's away to Taylor. Can he finish? And it's a goal! And Carl Hayworth, the captain, puts Ottawa Fury on the board here.
Everyone as a whole, I think, even people at the top, everyone believes in what we're doing, believes in what we can achieve as well.
This is a dream that I've always had for a Canadian club. It's a dream that many Canadians have had for professional teams in Canada. And this is something that we continue to stand by and we'll continue to work towards with success to follow.
That's it. The referee blows the whistle. Full time here at TD Place. The Ottawa Fury mission accomplished. 1-0 win over AS Blainville.
In two games, the teams are perhaps there is a little bit of differences, but the difference is not so big.
C'est tout le club qui a grandi au travers de ce championnat canadien.
And the Ottawa Fury will advance to the third round of the Canadian Championship, and they will face Toronto FC.
One of the targets of this season was to reach the semi-final. So mission accomplished, and now let's see. Toronto is coming, and we will be prepared for them.
Toyota's safety sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing, you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
Playing more than one sport.
Made me a better striker.
A better pitcher.
A better defender.
Better passer.
Playing different sports.
Improves teamwork.
Creativity.
Confidence.
Confidence.
And motivation.
So change it up.
Playing
More sports.
Will only make you better.
Better.
better
Better.
in your own sport.
Toyota's safety sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing, you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
more than one sport.
Made me a better striker.
A better pitcher.
A better defender.
Better passer.
Playing different sports.
Improves teamwork.
Creativity.
Confidence.
Confidence.
And motivation.
So change it up.
Playing
More sports.
Will only make you better.
Better.
better
Better.
in your own sport.
Toyota Safety Sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing, you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to BMO Field in Toronto, where the Battle of the North continues. Canadian Championship semi-final, second leg between Toronto FC and the Ottawa Fury. Nigel Reid alongside Kurt Larson in the booth. TFC protecting a one-goal lead from the first leg. Tonight's starting lineups are brought to you by Toyota, and Kurt, a much stronger looking Toronto FC team than we saw a week ago in Ottawa, notably the return of Josie Altidore, who's been out for so long. It's good to see him back as far as the fans are concerned. I'm sure he's looking to get himself back fully match fit as well.
Yeah, a bit surprising. He made a huge difference on the weekend for Toronto FC in Chicago, but now he comes back into the lineup. Maybe 45-minute cameo for Josie Altidore, and I'm interested in seeing Ayo Akinola up front with him. A great chance for the 18-year-old, and Ryan Telfer, the left winger, the local kid here in Toronto, has been a revelation this season.
Three Canadian starters in the TFC lineup. They'll play 3-5-2 with Hagland Hernandez captain for the night and Mavinga as the backbone of that three at the back. Clint Irwin in goal, and a very interesting looking bench as well. We'll get onto that in the near future. As far as Ottawa are concerned, not too many surprises, just one enforced change from the first leg.
Yeah, Jeremy Gagne-Lapre comes in for Ubasi, a huge miss, who's suspended tonight for Ottawa. I'm going to be watching Kevin Oliveira in midfield. He's one of the players who can pull the strings for Ottawa, and of course Steven Dos Santos up front. He likes to bang with the big boys, and he's going to be a huge threat tonight for Ottawa if they're to get back in this.
The keys to the game are brought to you by Allstate, a proud supporter of Canadian soccer at every level, Kurt.
Ottawa Fury, I think it's about patience tonight. They can sit back. They're only a goal down. They know they need one goal to get back into this. I think they sit down, break out through Taylor, Haber on the opposite side, and see if they can nick a goal, and then it's set pieces. I think they haven't been too good in recent games on the set pieces, but with few opportunities tonight, it's going to be important. Toronto FC, it's safety first. They're a goal up. They're at home. They don't need to give anything away. It's safety at the back. It's safety in the middle third, not letting Ottawa get out on the counter. And then just take your chances. I think Greg Vanney, the head coach, is going to want to see a guy like Altidore or Akinola get on the board early in this one and put this test to bed so they can look on to the weekend against Chicago.
Beautiful evening for soccer on a Wednesday evening. A little humid, but it'll cool down as the evening progresses. Toronto FC, all in their traditional red, will kick from right to left in this first half. Ottawa Fury in their change strip of all white shirts. And the first job for them, as you heard Kurt say, is to try and retrieve that one-goal deficit from the first leg. It came early inside the first 5 minutes from Jonathan Osorio, who is on the bench for TFC tonight, along with some other familiar figures, including Sebastian Giovinco, Alex Bono, Michael Bradley, if needed later on. Toronto FC, I'm sure, and their head coach Greg Vanney will hope that they're not required.
Yeah, it's a chance to get out and get the legs running. Giovinco, obviously, if you can rest him to the weekend, that's a big advantage. Michael Bradley's logged a ton of minutes, so they're probably not eager to get him up off the bench, but safety first in case they need these guys to come on and rescue something in the second half.
Ottawa Fury typically play a 4-3-3 formation, so Maxime Crepeau on loan from the Impact in goal. A back four of Edward Adakora, Meir Giguère, and Gagnon Laparé making his official debut, you might say, at left back for the Fury, although he was here on loan a couple of years ago, played a couple of games, but now a permanent fixture, having returned from France. Then that three-man midfield, Portilla, Jamar Dixon, the captain, and Kevin Oliveira. Where's number 88? Watch out for him. Dangerous, takes the free kicks and the set pieces. And then Taylor and Haber on the wing, supporting Steven Dos Santos up front. It'll be a Ottawa Fury throw on that far side and an early touch for Gagnon Laparé. I suppose the first thing that Ottawa will be thinking is don't start the game the way we did last week when they got caught cold and Jonathan Osorio came in with that early shot which caught them all a bit by surprise, and that turned out to be the game winner.
Yeah, conceding so early was probably devastating. Ottawa probably thought they could get out of that game with at least a draw, especially when you saw the lineup TFC came with, not their strongest side. This side tonight much stronger, so they would have liked to get out of there with a draw or even a win like they did a season ago, but it wasn't to be.
Chris Mavinga, who's also had his injury issues this year. Indeed, it's been a catalogue of injuries. It's not the only reason that Toronto FC have struggled after all the glories in 2017, but when you've got so many injuries, it certainly doesn't help. The ball forward from Akinola, and out quickly and effectively Maxime Crepeau. First threat to the home team.
Toronto FC, they put so much into that Champions League run at the beginning of the year. It's come back to haunt them. Drew Moore at the back. It's been a huge miss. Like you said, Chris Mavinga, maybe one of the best defenders in MLS last season. He's just recently come back, and Josie Altidore, that foot injury, finally comes back into the team, and we saw the difference he made. Probably TFC's best player a season ago.
And perhaps no surprise that Toronto FC got their first MLS win in a long, long time against Chicago at the weekend. They'll be looking to continue that momentum, I'm sure, tonight and book their place in the final of the Canadian Championship. If you're unfamiliar with the competition, Toronto FC have won it for the last couple of years. 6 times champions overall. This is Ottawa Fury's 5th appearance in the competition since debuting back in 2014. These teams actually met in the semi-finals last season. Ottawa won the first leg and then came down to earth with a bit of a bump in the second leg, 4-0, and Toronto FC made their way to the final, won the competition, and as Kurt just said, the CONCACAF Champions League and all that jazz was the very beneficial and very dramatic result.
Well, that's I followed that tournament and was down in Mexico 3 different times. Is fantastic atmosphere, and for TFC to go down there and get those results. People forget how good TFC was last year and earlier this season because of the injuries, and where they stand now in the standings in MLS, looking unlikely they might make the playoffs. But this tournament here, very, very important. They want to get back to that competition and see if they can go one step further.
Nick Hagglund the ball forward, but in quickly the Ottawa Fury to pick up possession, and down this right-hand side looking for Tony Taylor. Mavinga was diligent, and now Ryan Telfer, one of the 3 Canadians in the TFC starting lineup. Referee, by the way, is Pierre-Luc Lausier from Drummondville, Quebec. So we have 7 Canadian starters for the Fury, 3 for TFC, and a Canadian official as well. Here's another of them, Liam Fraser, who sprays it to his fellow Canuck Telfer. Quickly forward, looking for Jay Chapman, a Canadian triumvirate, and just in the side netting, it'll be a goal kick.
You can see now why Greg Vandy's trusted Liam Fraser there with that long diagonal. Something we might see out of Michael Bradley usually, but Fraser now playing instead of TFC's normal captain, and well done to start that attack.
Crepeau long with the goal kick over halfway, looking for Oliveira. Ball forward for the white shirts. It's one to chase, but Irwin will get there first. Clears up towards halfway. Delgado getting a foot in, but the referee has penalized him, and it will be a Fury free kick on that far side. Forward looking for Taylor. Dos Santos making a nuisance of himself. TFC have time to clear. They will do with Ryan Telfer. Seen plenty of the ball already on this near side. Knocks it inside for Delgado, who transfers it, spreads it to that right-hand side. 2 making their way into the box. Altidore and Akinola waiting for the service. It's taken a deflection, and it will be a corner on that far side. The first of this second leg, the Battle of the North between Toronto FC in red and Ottawa Fury of the United Soccer Leagues in white. Jay Chapman on his way over to take the corner. Set pieces can be so important in all forms of the game. Defending team needs to be organized. There's a real scrum of bodies around the penalty spot. Referee's just saying it's a little too physical in there. Keep your distance. Touch tight, as Jason DeVos used to say to me. He'll be joining us, by the way, Jason, in the early moments of the second half. Looking for Chapman's ball goes all the way through to Fraser. Knocked back in again. Mavinga over his head, and then just wide.
It's not often. On target regardless, and in the end it doesn't really threaten Crepeau.
Hagglund, I have to say, is much more dangerous in the box with his head. He's an excellent header of the ball and did very good work last week in Ottawa, both defensively and at the other end of the field. He was quite a threat, even though the match only produced for Jason Hernandez. Ball forward for Altidore, looking for the first time layoff to Fraser, but a little too much on it. On the Fury over halfway. Got a little fortunate with the ricochet. And this is Eddie Edward in his usual right back position. An all-Canadian back line for the Fury. Edward, Adekora, Meyer Giguère and Gagnon Lapere. This is Nana Adekora, remembering his days with Toronto FC. But half a club too many.
Just want to go back to that Altidore turnover. You could see, I think it was Portilla who stepped in there, and those are the kind of moments that I think Ottawa's going to want to exploit. They didn't really complete it going forward, but you could see it was kind of a moment of a 4-on-4 situation. Those are the moments that Ottawa needs to look for to get out and maybe take advantage of something.
Irwin looking for Akinola. He rises, but the ball out of play, and it'll be a Toronto throw midway inside their own half of the field. Mavinga will get us underway again. Looking for Altidore, nods it down, but taking it over was Oliveira, who really caught the eye, Kevin Oliveira, in the first leg last week. Had a couple of attempts from free kicks and curling shots, which had Clint Irwin scrambling in the Toronto FC goal. In the end, it counted for naught, but Oliveira will certainly be looking to emulate that sort of performance here tonight. Akinola, just 18 years of age. What an opportunity for him to play up alongside Josie Altidore. Should learn plenty.
A bit of a different player, Akinola, than Altidore, obviously. It's not that he doesn't have good size, but I think he's going to look to use his speed to get in behind, whereas Altidore's able to play with his back to goal and even drop in and play make a little bit. But like you said, he's 18, American international, American youth international, and haven't seen a whole lot of him, but we'll see what he has tonight here.
Product as many of the Toronto FC academy. Dixon turns inside for Portilla, playing that defensive midfield role. Meilleur Giguère. And now for Eddie Edward on this near side. Thought about chipping it forward, but decided that safety was the better option. A little bit of room on that far side. Now can they get some meaningful service in and around the edge of the Toronto FC penalty area? Santos thought about the move forward. It'll be a free kick for the Fury. Delgado in again and penalised for the second time by the referee.
Yeah, I think it's opportunities like these that when you can get Oliveira over the ball, you can get the bigs like Adekora up and see if you can get on the end of something here. It's like we said, they didn't create too many chances going forward in Ottawa last week, but real opportunity here.
Well, Oliveira, having watched him last week, has some good whip and curl on these balls. That one will be way too long and straight into touch. That's what always happens, Kurt. You build them up and then they disappoint you.
Yeah, it's an opportunity wasted, and like I said in my pregame notes there, they can't let these free opportunities into the box go to waste because they aren't in way of build-ups and methodical attacks. So you got to put that in between the penalty spot and the six and give your players a chance.
Suffice to say, Oliveira's delivery last week was significantly better than what we just saw. So give the lads some time. 12 minutes into the first half of this semi-final second leg between Toronto FC and Ottawa Fury in white. No goals. But of course it's an aggregate score over the two legs, so TFC starting with a 1-goal lead courtesy of Jonathan Osorio a week ago. Shea Chapman can't get around his man. Possibilities of a counter-attack, but brought to an abrupt end by Jason Hernandez, and TFC can build again as the shadows lengthen at BMO Field. Hagland. No great hurry for TFC, and I guess nor should there be. Obviously they'll want to win this game, but they don't need to chase it. Delgado. Further right. As the Begmen begin to make their move. Delgado again. Akinola wide on that far side. Back for Hagland. Altidore menacing around the edge of the penalty area. Little chip through, but not everybody on exactly the same page, and Crepeau tidies up at the back.
Yeah, you saw what Justin Morrow was trying to do there. He thought Delgado might break in there, and a little flick on would put him in on Crepeau for an opportunity, but like you said, not on the same page. But decent build-up from TFC.
Interesting to see Justin Morrow operating in that right wing back row, because he is a natural left footer and has often played left back. That was his stock position certainly last season, and left wing back. But the emergence of Ryan Telfer has obviously given Greg Vanney some food for thought.
It's a hard challenge there from Eddie Edward
on Telfer,
and Telfer looks to be in a bit of trouble there.
Well, Eddie Edwards going to get a talking to for sure from Monsieur Lozier.
I don't think there was much in that. I think Eddie Edwards just...
and the referee just telling him to calm it down. Telfer's back on his feet, which is always good to see.
Just going back to Justin Morrow on the right.
Sure.
I think that just kind of speaks to the injury concerns TFC's had this season. Obviously, they'd like to have Oro, the Brazilian, playing out right, or Gregory Vanderweil, who they also brought in this season, but the injury concerns have just been that extreme that they got to move one of the best left-sided players in MLS over to the right.
And no Nicholas Hassler now either. He was traded away for a young Spaniard who we thought might feature in this game tonight, perhaps off the bench. Jon Baguero, whose dad was a Spanish international, but he doesn't feature in the matchday squad, so his day will come, I'm sure. Telfer went up for the header. Mavinga gives chase alongside Tony Taylor down in the corner area. It's going to be an Ottawa throw, despite Mavinga trying to sell it to the assistant and the referee that he didn't get the last touch.
Taylor does really well there in the corner to chase that down and then shield off a bit of a challenge there from Mavinga and then end up winning a throw. It's one of those dangerous positions to defend and see if Ottawa can make anything of it.
Edward will take it, threatening to throw it long into the heart of the penalty area. Does so. Mavinga got an important head on it, helped out by Chapman, and now Akinola for Toronto FC, who wins the free kick. All a little too quickly for the referee's liking. And then Fraser takes it. The referee says, no, let's take it from the right spot. So Hernandez will do so. Hagland and Hernandez exchanging passes. Crowd continues to build at BMO Field. On a warm evening, away by Gagnon Lapere. TFC continue to threaten up that right-hand side. Gagnon Lapere here to cover the run of Morrow. Forces him backwards for the time being. And now Fraser. Room on this left-hand side for Telfer. Whipped in right-footed. Important header from Nana Adekora. And away they come into touch. Some emergency defending, but Ottawa dealt with it. Hagland over halfway for TFC. Clint Irwin playing keeper-sweeper momentarily. Well, it's a bit of a chess match, a bit of a stalemate at the moment, Kurt.
Yeah, I think both sides are going to be okay with this right now. Ottawa, the longer this game goes at 0-0, they're going to like their chances of getting back into this. And, of course, Toronto FC not giving much away by way of chances. Of course, a little bit disappointed in the attacking third right now, I think. Not generating enough on goal, but both managers right now are satisfied.
I was going to say, from an Ottawa point of view, they've certainly negotiated the first, well, nearly 20 minutes without conceding that second goal. So I suppose if you divide the game into chunks, that's the first part of the equation done as far as the visitors are concerned.
Things always start to tighten up late in games for teams that are perhaps favored to win this series and leading, and the ball always seems to be kind of sucked towards your goal a little bit more as you drop further back. So, like you said, Ottawa probably a bit satisfied right now.
Fraser combining momentarily there with Altidore, but the final ball was too long. Well, Toronto FC have a very interesting bench tonight, as we mentioned in our introduction. How about this? Alex Bono, Michael Bradley, Sebastian Giovinco, Jonathan Osorio, among others. Jordan Hamilton to St. Ricketts as well, and Ashton Morgan. Not often you'll see a TFC bench with that group of players.
It's not every day. I think a USL side like Ottawa might have to face a guy like Sebastian Giovinco, his pedigree, an Italian international, former Italian international, former MLS MVP. Players capable of making things happen if he does come on. Of course, I don't think Greg Vanney's going to want to use him, but we'll see.
Portilla swings the ball in. Mavinga with the clearing header, and then back and just over the top, and not too far over the top. And that was Daniel Haber, I believe, who had the shot on the volley. Just 3 or 4 feet too high.
I'd like to see him take those chances, though. The opportunities aren't going to come often, but you can get a strike on goal, and Irwin seemed a bit troubled there for a moment. I think you got to take it.
TFC trying to move the ball quickly with Chapman and Telfer. As Altidore and Akinola make their way forward, it's too long for everybody, and indeed over the top of Morrow and harmlessly behind for another goal kick. But an efficient quick break by TFC. Just the final ball lacked the accuracy.
I think maybe you can see the difference in Toronto FC's midfield when you take a guy like Jonathan Osorio out, who's having a great year, and of course Victor Vasquez not included tonight.
Another one.
Not included tonight,
Yep.
so.
Offside against the Ottawa Fury. Yeah, Vasquez again, another of those players, and we don't really want to harp on about it. And as we said, it's not the whole issue, but certainly there's no question that Toronto FC have suffered significant injuries to significant personnel throughout the season. After the highs of that CONCACAF Champions League final run and the heartbreak of penalties. And I suppose it's worth mentioning as Chris Mavinga chips the ball forward, and there's a possibility here, and it's going to go just wide for the time being. Akinola picks it up. Come back to the point I was about to make when this concludes. Telfer inside Edward. Adekora half away. Scrambling defense, and in the end Fraser get a deflection because it's gone for a corner.
Wonderful ball there, played in Delgado initially. You saw him, the touch wasn't right, and that allowed Mayor Jaguar to come in and get a toe, but the opportunities are starting to open up for Toronto FC. You saw Telfer there, what he can do in making a little bit of space and whipping a ball in. See Fraser lash that one. The referee says it took a deflection.
Yeah, it looked a little wild, but it certainly touched the defender on the way. Referee didn't have any problem pointing to the corner flag, which might have saved Fraser's blushes a touch. Crepeau long upfield looking for Taylor and Dos Santos. But tidied up by Hagland. Akinola just overran it, and in bravely was Nana Adekora, who's clutching his right knee, I think. Might have taken a knock. It was an accidental collision. Nana Adekora, formerly of Toronto FC, back in the bad old days, bad old good old days. I don't know how you describe it, Kurt.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate his time here. You would have liked to have seen him develop a little bit further here, and was always under siege with that Toronto FC back line, what, 6-7 years ago, and
yeah,
really maybe got his opportunity. I would have liked to have seen maybe what he would have been like in the system today. Instead, I think he spent some time in San Jose, and
he did.
Maybe an option for the future with Canada's men's national team to see what John Herman, who he wants to bring in.
You know what, Nana Adekora was always an honest, wholehearted player, and that hasn't changed. I mean, he's 29 now, he's getting towards his 30s, but he's always given an honest shift. And went to San Francisco for a year, won the Soccer Bowl there with the Deltas, and now back in Canada, and it's good to see him back with the Ottawa Fury. Be an Ottawa ball on this near side. Chapman wasn't quite sure what the free kick was given for, but the referee didn't have any problems blowing his whistle. Edward forward. Out of harm's way for the time being, as Taylor was closing in. So a throw-in for Fury midway inside the Toronto half of the field. Nothing too much to bother Clint Irwin yet. He had to make a couple of smart saves in the first leg. As the game wore on, Toronto FC. Here they come again. And again, well, it'll stay in play this time. And over the top of the goalkeeper, and Adekora had to be very adroit and had to make sure he got some height on that header, or he was in danger of putting it in his own net. Well defended.
So well done there from Josie Altidore to nod that ball down, and ends with Delgado. You wonder if Justin Morrow could have cut that ball back for Altidore to have a strike on goal, but it's a good move from Toronto FC, and positive they can take moving forward in this half.
Jay Chapman prepares to take the corner. Once again, a crowded penalty spot. Towards the near post, looking for the flick on. It'll come all the way back to Chapman. Helped out by Delgado. And now Fraser. Big men still up for TFC. Hernandez. Altidore makes his way back. Feeds Delgado. There's two on this left-hand side. One of them is Chapman. Telfer is beyond him. Hernandez thinking about going right and does so. Morrow. And they slow it all down again. 26.5 minutes gone in the second leg of the semi-final. Toronto FC in red, being held for the time being by the Ottawa Fury. No score. Toronto FC have threatened on a couple of occasions. And then the foul by Hernandez. They get a talking to by the referee. Rather as Delgado did. Just calm it down, says Monsieur Lausier. And Hernandez wisely retreats from the scene of the crime. Portilla for Mayor Giguère. They're well organised, Ottawa. And certainly the pre-match comments, they felt that they had a legitimate chance of making their way back into this game. Offside against Haber. Flag was quickly raised on this near side.
Yeah, just like what Popovich has done with this team. It's just a slow start to the season. If you read the headlines and read the stories coming out of Ottawa this week, it was all about belief and believing they could get back into this series. And so far, they've been resilient here. They've haven't given up much, and I think be satisfied here through about a half hour heading into the break if they can get there.
Room for Telfer on this near side, tracked by Edward. Telfer, the ball across. It was dangerous all the way across the 6-yard line, belted away to safety. Once again, Toronto FC threatened. They're coming together there with Hernandez. Referee's seen it. Off the ball.
Such a good ball in from Telfer. Yeah. Some people don't know that this is a kid that just a few years ago was playing at York University and was spotted by Toronto FC, and they brought him into the academy. Played a season with TFC2, and then due to emergency kind of things that happened at the beginning of the season with injuries, they call him up, and now he's playing in front of his home city and getting opportunities and showing that he could be someone for the future for Canada's men's national team.
Well, talking of the future of Canadian men's national team, all the talk today, or the last 24 hours, of course, has been about Alphonso Davies, who has now completed that move to Bayern Munich, a record deal for an MLS player. Will stay with the Whitecaps, who play later against Montreal for the rest of the season, and then presumably will join the German champions during the transfer window, which opens again on January the 1st. just 17 years of age. We'll hear the perspective, I'm sure, of Jason DeVos just after half-time. So do stick around for that. It looks like it'll be an interesting conversation. I certainly hope so.
Sources I kind of spoke with in Russia at the World Cup had said about all the teams that were after him, the Manchester Uniteds, the Liverpools, Real Madrid, of course Bayern now comes in. A lot of the scouts had actually listed him as perhaps the top 17-year-old in the world, not just North America, but in the world. So
I'm sure there was a queue of clubs as long as your arm looking at him. Nations Cup, CONCACAF Nations League as it now will be, against Dominica. So there will be more opportunities to see Davies before he heads overseas for the big adventure. Jamie Delgado for Josie Altidore. Altidore touch inside. He's got Morrow for support, but puts it right into the midriff of Maxime Crepeau on his weaker foot.
Yeah, sorry about that. Morrow does so well to get forward and overlap Josie Altidore there. He really opens up the space. As you can see here, the service, of course, is not his favorite right foot, but he'd have liked to have done better there. It was Akinola at the back post waiting for perhaps a tap in.
Steven Dos Santos wins the header. Clint Irwin off his line early, collides with Tony Taylor, and Irwin goes down, and Taylor's going to get a yellow card for following through on the TFC goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think Taylor could have avoided that collision. Seemed awfully late to me and quite hard. Clint Irwin's a tough customer. He's been in those collisions before.
Well, to be fair to Taylor, and I think there's no question that the referee was within his rights to issue the yellow card. Taylor was chasing a ball that was where to be won, and he might argue that his momentum took him into Irwin, maybe too aggressively for the referee's liking. Irwin, though, back on his feet, not making a meal of it, and that's good to see.
I think just sometimes as a striker you can maybe anticipate
the
goalkeeper maybe collecting that, but I'm not saying there's anything dirty in it. A hard challenge.
No. Yellow card's the right decision in my opinion. Toronto FC get on with it. 32 minutes gone. And Chris Mavinga over halfway for Toronto FC. Searching ball for Telfer on this near side. First time into the box. Too close to Crepeau, who elected to punch, and then over the top.
Another dangerous ball played in from Telfer there from the wing. I think Crepeau saw it knuckling, did what he thought he could with it, a punch clear of the box. That's what goalkeepers are taught to do. Fraser's eyes get big again. How many times have we said that already this half? And it's on his non-favorite foot and skies it over. It was always going to be hard to keep down on target, I think.
Over the top of Dos Santos, but finds Tony Taylor. Haber had made the run for him. Taylor continues to the left and now coming back. Gets a little fortunate with the deflection. Gagnon Laparé as far forward as we've seen him. And Edward on this near side. Toronto FC have time to reshape themselves defensively. And Mavinga watched by Dos Santos. Irwin cool under pressure. Plays it forward for Hernandez, captaining TFC. Liam Fraser, one of the three Canadian starters, looking forward for Altidore. Back to goal, cushions the head up. Altidore again, playing the give and go, and Crepeau again. It's out of play. It will be a corner. More worrying moments in the Ottawa Fury box. Delgado almost got there, but Crepeau did well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an option here all night. You see Fraser pick his head up and pick out Josie Altidore up front. It's a lovely little nod down from Altidore to start that play, and of course he gets it back and slots it through. Just a little bit out of Delgado's reach there in the end.
Chapman, though, takes the corner towards the penalty spot. Firm header away from Taylor. TFC leave all the big men up. Fraser. Interesting to the back post, and it's going to have to be cleared off the line. And in the back of the net it is, and it's Akinola. Ayo Akinola, just 18 years of age. Johnny on the spot. And the teenager has his first senior goal for Toronto FC. Akinola the scorer, and it's 1-0 to the Canadian champions.
Another wonderful ball there played in by, I think it was Fraser. Well weighted to the back post. Out of Ottawa's defenders, they're retreating, couldn't get to it. Going to see a replay here of it. See Fraser knock it in, and Ottawa Fury's defense isn't going to like how that was handled with Akinola there on the doorstep, and it's an easy finish there. You got to wonder if Laperre could have maybe knocked that clear of the box. It would have been difficult, but Akinola is going to take his goal.
Oh, he'll take it. Just 18 years of age. From Brampton, Ontario. Product of the Toronto FC Academy. That's a goal he will remember for as long as he plays. His first senior goal for Toronto FC, and it gives them, of course, a 2-goal cushion, Kurt.
Yeah, you're just
before halftime.
You're just looking at Popovich right now. As look down as that the restart was taken, and his head down, and I think he knows that was maybe the opportunity there to get into halftime at 0-0 and put some real pressure on Toronto FC. It's going to be tough to get back into this one now. They need 2.
Well, they may have an opportunity here. They have a free kick in a threatening position. Kevin Oliveira is among those considering his options. A line of 7 or 8 Toronto FC players, just a couple of meters inside the penalty area. Plenty of white shirts forward. It's left-footed in, and it's away by Hagland, I think, originally. And then Akinola needs to be careful here. Did really well, Akinola. That's clever. Look at the confidence of the kid having scored the goal. And he's put Toronto FC in attack again. Made his way forward into the box. Morrow looking for the give and go with Altidore. But Akinola, well, he certainly caught the eye with the goal, and then some clever defensive work.
Maybe slightly ill-advised there from Akinola. I think if you would have asked Greg Vinn, he would have preferred a clearance there, but he spins out of 4 defenders and starts that break. I think he's playing with a ton of confidence right now. You can see him trying to get forward. And
that's what this game's all about. It's about confidence, and Akinola had the confidence and the bravery, if you like, and got away with it. It looked wonderful from my vantage point, for sure. Touched behind by Mavinga for an Ottawa corner.
Portilla put in a very dangerous ball on that last set piece. We'll see if he can do it again.
He has that curling left foot, the right foot of Oliveira, so they do have options. Can he put it under the bar and test Clint Irwin, see who's brave enough to throw themselves towards the ball? Portilla for the Fury. Needed a firm hand from Clint Irwin. It's gone out of play. It will be a corner on that far side. So Ottawa trying to respond positively to going that goal behind. 2-0 on aggregate. And this will be Oliveira right-footed from the far side. Plenty of white shirts again, crowding Clint Irwin. Referee just picking out a couple. Once again, leave each other alone, says Monsieur Lozier. Eyes on the ball.
I'm sure they'll listen.
I'm sure they won't. Oliveira to deliver. That's good too. Excellent delivery again, and Owen had to deal with it. It was more or less under his crossbar. And then Portilla charged down, and away come Toronto FC again. And the break is on here with Chapman and Telfer. He's overrun it. Well, that's a shame. Well, Jay Chapman must have run 60 or 70 yards. Had options right and left. And then just one slightly heavy touch.
Yeah, I think he had Akinola on the right.
Yeah.
Could have maybe switched it over with the left foot right here. Takes that extra touch. Eddie Edward does well there to clear the danger, but the chances are going to come now for TFC on the break, with Ottawa having to take a little bit more, some more chances going forward.
Yeah, they will have to take risks, of course, because they trail by 2 overall. 1 goal in Ottawa last week, 1 goal tonight. It was actually interesting, the last 15-20 minutes last week in Ottawa, the Fury really laid siege and had some very good chances. They didn't manage to score, but they certainly built up a head of steam in the last quarter of an hour or so in the first leg. Of course, they can't go hell for leather yet, because that would leave too many gaps at the back. And if Toronto FC were to score a second, that would probably be tie over. Portilla looking for the ball forward for Dos Santos, but tied it up, and Dos Santos is labouring a little there. May have hurt himself. Not moving too well. Jamar Dixon, Canadian captain of the Ottawa Fury. Portilla again. Turning is Oliveira. Mavinga does well again to dispossess Taylor. And here come Toronto FC again with Delgado, first time ball. And again, well, they're trying to move it quickly. It'll go all the way out for a throw-in in the end. Again, Altidore and Akinola well forward, but the final delivery was misdirected.
Yeah, it's the timing of Chris Mavinga's tackles is something TFC's been missing here for a few months now, and he starts the outlet that leads to Morrow streaking on the right. Again, it's not Morrow's favorite side, and he's going to be displeased with himself regardless. But
yeah. Well, if you put a left footer on the right-hand side, it's never necessarily a fair ask, although a lot of left footers you'll see cut inside and use their left foot. Chapman, Nana Atakora in the way. Delgado takes over, and it'll come once again for Justin Morrow. Turns and uses that left foot. Morrow again. Little dink over the top of Akinola. Referee penalising Toronto FC. Didn't see a flag on the far side, so it must have been a push. Free kick for Maxime Crepeau and the Ottawa Fury. Couple of minutes till half-time. And what would Ottawa give for a goal in the next 2 minutes or so?
well, it changes the entire mindset going into the dressing room. You're going with a lot more hope. The body language, it lifts. The spirit in the locker room lifts. And otherwise, you go in, you're 2 goals down on the road at BMO Field. It'd be very difficult to come back from that, and especially when you see who's on TFC's bench, and maybe Greg Vanny wants to get a few minutes out of Javinko in preparation for the weekend. The goal here would obviously be huge and maybe change the entire complexion of this series.
Eddie Edward on halfway. Christian Portilla. Calm head in midfield. Decent delivery as well. Steven Dos Santos hasn't really had a sight of goal yet. Taylor, who's trying to move it along the edge of the area, but again the red shirts advance. Out of play, and Edward might have taken a knock here.
Looked like shin on shin there,
yeah,
from Telfair and Edward.
It really did.
So painful when that happens.
Well, thankfully, well, he's limping away, but clearly thinks he can run it off. No need to call the medics. And we're only, what, a minute or so away from half-time. Just keep an eye on Edward. He's trotting a bit freer now, but certainly feeling that challenge. Last minute of the first half. Can't remember any long stoppages. Maybe there'll be a minute or so of stoppage time. Rolled out by Irwin to Liam Fraser, himself just 20, trying to make his way into the first team on a regular basis. Fraser, but Dos Santos goes past him, runs into Delgado, in fact Chapman, I beg your pardon. Dixon for Dos Santos, looking for Gagnon Lapere on that far side. Oliveira hasn't had the influence so far in this second leg that he did in the first. Hopefully he'll be saving up all those fireworks for the second half. Just 1 minute to add at the end of this first half. Toronto FC scored one, have had chances to score more, but a 2-goal aggregate lead for the reigning champions. Thinking about the shot, but it's woefully wide in the end. And that will just about do it for the first half. Clint Irwin will take his time. And the Battle of the North is swaying in favour of the Ontario capital, Toronto, as opposed to the nation's capital, Ottawa. Justin Morrow cushions it for Delgado, who returns the favour. It's a matter of keep ball in these closing seconds of the first half for Toronto FC. There is the referee's whistle for half-time. A half punctuated by a 36-minute goal by Ayo Akinola. Just 18 years of age, his first senior goal, and Toronto FC deservedly in front.
Yeah, Toronto FC gets the goal they wanted. They'd like another one early here in the second half to try and put this tie to bed for sure, but it's gonna be interesting to see what Popovich does after the break. They have a guy like Adonai Reed on the bench who maybe they can bring on to make a difference, but right now it's Toronto FC in front and looking good to go.
Toyota's Safety Sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing, you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
better striker.
A better pitcher.
A better defender.
Better passer.
Playing different sports,
Improves teamwork.
creativity,
Confidence.
Confidence.
and motivation.
So change it up.
Playing
More sports,
Will only make you better.
better.
better
Better.
in your own sport.
Good evening and welcome to TD Place in the nation's capital. We are moments away from kickoff with the Ottawa Fury looking to take care of business tonight against AS Blainville. Definitely a lot at stake here as the winner will face Toronto FC in the semifinals.
Off the post. Johnson. The Vancouver Whitecaps. Montreal Impact. Toronto FC. Right into the net. Blainville is on the road here. Tonight for Ottawa Fury. It's no response. Rangers Cup once again a thrilling day.
This is a tournament that gives you the chance to play in the Champions League, and I think that's everyone's dream.
What interested me in Blainville in the last match was how aggressive they played, how physical they played against Ottawa Fury, and that took them off guard. It seemed that Ottawa Fury weren't ready for the amount of physical threat that Blainville was going to be throughout the whole match.
On sait qu'on a perdu le premier match quand même 1-0. Là. On a quand même une bonne marge de travail à faire quand même pour au moins remporter ce deuxième match. On ne vient pas ici pour être spectateur, pour faire 1-1 ou juste rester sur le terrain. On vient vraiment ici pour gagner le match et peut-être se qualifier pour le prochain tour.
You've seen it, around the world. Upsets from the underdogs in these tournaments, and these are the type of tournaments you don't take lightly. Every team is here to compete. We were once upon a time the underdogs playing against the TFC's Vancouver Whitecaps, and we actually proved them wrong on our home ground.
I really don't approach any team as if they're lower than another team. It's a game at the end of the day, and anyone can win.
Il va falloir qu'on soit très très combatif. Il va falloir qu'on réussisse à rentrer dans le match sans être intimidé par l'environnement, ce stade qui est aussi grand et dans lequel on n'a pas l'habitude d'évoluer. Déjà, dans un premier temps, s'accrocher à ça et par la suite pouvoir espérer et être un petit peu plus offensif que la dernière fois où on l'a été seulement sur 45 minutes et pas sur le match au complet.
I would expect Fury to keep their heads, try to stay calm throughout this game, and look to see out the competition and try to get to the semifinal.
We are moments away here and the referee blows his whistle and we are underway. The Fury in possession here.
The project is to bring a lot of Canadian players, trying to become the reference of Canadian football.
If you look at the squad that Nicola and Julian have put together, I think 17 Canadians now.
Having a lot of Canadian content, it allows us to be happy about something that we believe in.
Oh, that's great skill from Reed. He's away to Taylor. Can he finish? And it's a goal! And Carl Hayworth, the captain, puts Ottawa Fury on the board here.
Everyone as a whole, I think, even people at the top, everyone believes in what we're doing, believes in what we can achieve as well.
This is a dream that I've always had for a Canadian club. It's a dream that many Canadians have had for professional teams in Canada. And this is something that we continue to stand by and we'll continue to work towards with success to follow.
That's it. The referee blows the whistle. Full time here at TD Place. The Ottawa Fury, mission accomplished. 1-0 win over AS Blainville.
In two games, the teams are perhaps there is a little bit of differences, but the difference is not so big.
C'est tout le club qui a grandi au travers de ce championnat canadien.
And the Ottawa Fury will advance to the third round of the Canadian Championship, and they will face Toronto FC.
One of the targets of this season was to reach the semi-final. So mission accomplished, and now let's see. Toronto is coming, and we will be prepared for them.
Toyota's safety sense comes standard on virtually all our vehicles because we never lose sight of the most important thing: you. We make our vehicles with safety top of mind, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with them. Alone, just a car. Together, so much more.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
You are Canada Soccer.
Playing more than one sport.
Made me a better striker.
A better pitcher.
A better defender.
Better passer.
Playing different sports.
Improves teamwork.
Creativity.
Confidence.
Confidence.
And motivation.
So change it up.
Playing
More sports.
Will only make you better.
Better.
better
Better.
in your own sport.
Second half underway. Director of Development, what does that actually mean?
Essentially, it means I oversee the player and coach development programs for Canada Soccer, which is essentially everything underneath our national team's programs, Nigel. John Herdman, obviously the men's national team head coach and Excel director. Kenneth Heinemuller, the women's national team head coach and Excel director. So I work very closely with both John and Kenneth as we're trying to reshape and restructure coach education to align with what we're looking for at the national team level.
Director of Development, does your remit cover, searching for those diamonds in the rough? Because the last 24 hours, you know as well as I know that everybody's been talking about Alphonso Davies and his big move to Bayern Munich, raised in Edmonton and for the last 2 or 3 years with the Vancouver Whitecaps. But what a bright prospect at 17, a fantastic prospect for not just for himself and his career, but for the Canadian international scene.
It's a wonderful story, Nigel, and I said earlier today to a journalist that I feel like his story is very Canadian in the sense that he left his home country where there were obviously challenges and difficulties for him and his family, and we took him in and his family in, and the soccer community in Alberta gave him a place to play and a home, and they nurtured him and they gave him an opportunity to progress to a higher level of the game. And obviously the Vancouver Whitecaps deserve a great deal of credit for his development too, but I mean ultimately the player development is down to the player himself. He has to have the right mentality, the right attitude, the right work rate. So I'm delighted for Alphonso that he has this wonderful opportunity ahead of him, and hope that he continues his development and continues to grasp the opportunities that come his way.
Nigel Reid alongside Canada Soccer's Director of Development, Jason DeVos. And I mean, you can't help thinking, Jason, that here we are. We've just gone through another World Cup. We're 8 years removed from 2026 when Canada will get the opportunity to co-host. It's like a beacon on the horizon. You think of Alphonso Davies, he's 17 years old. In 8 years' time, he'll be 25. I mean, you can't help but think all the stars are beginning to align.
Well, it's exciting if you look at some of the young talents that we have coming through the system. Liam Miller, obviously, at Liverpool. Alphonso Davies now at Bayern Munich. And Jonathan Osorio here at Toronto FC. There are some wonderful young players entering our men's national team program who have a chance to go to another level. And obviously with John Herdman now in charge, there's an opportunity to take the program in a brand new direction.
Let's talk about what we're looking at, the Canadian Championship. There is a remit that all the teams have to field at least 3 Canadians in their starting lineup. Ottawa doing a terrific job as far as that's concerned. TFC had a lot more Canadians on the field in Ottawa last week. I mean, this is a breeding ground for young Canadians, and you know, as a youngster who had to go abroad to try and find a pro contract when you were 19 or 20 years of age, that there wasn't much of a pathway in Canada. There wasn't much of an opportunity to play pro soccer. Now that's beginning to change.
It is, and it's changing for the positive. If you look at some of the young players, and you see one on the ball, Liam Fraser, they need to play senior football. They need to play first team football, because you never know if they're going to be able to adapt and overcome that struggle unless they get the opportunity. And I was very fortunate at the age of 16 in the old CSL, the Canadian Soccer League, to get the opportunity to play against the likes of John Catliff and Dominic Mobilio and Paul Pescisolido and Alex Bunbury, who at the time were the strikers for our men's national team.
Yes.
So it was make or break time for me, sink or swim in a lot of ways. So if I didn't get that opportunity, I've told many people this story, I never would have had a career, let alone gone on to represent our country. So the horizon looks very bright for Canadian soccer, and the opportunities that are going to be afforded to our young Canadian players to play professionally on home soil is something to get excited about.
To be fair, over the years, and you know this as well as I do, Canada soccer has had its fair share of criticism for being not exactly unimaginative, but for crying poor and not really pushing the boat out. Now, you're obviously part of the organization now and have been for what, about 18 months, I suppose, or thereabouts?
Yeah, it's coming up to 2 years.
Is it nearly as much
nearly
as
2
that?
years, yeah.
I mean, do you get the impression that the whole organization is more professional and is more committed to finding Canadian talent? Because if we expect, as Jordan Hamilton goes forward but overruns it, unfortunately, if we expect fans to make that emotional investment, get behind the national teams, both the men and the women. The players have to be there, but they have to have the support of the organization as well.
Yeah, and I think the support is absolutely there, and certainly I've seen that myself. You know, in my previous role working in the media, I was more critical than anyone at times of Canada Soccer and the steps that were taken. But you know, having now been on the other side and seen some of the complexity and the challenges that are faced by the governing body in changing the landscape of the game across the country at the grassroots level, let alone at the national team level, you know, I can see just how hard these people work over the years and have worked over the years to try and grow and develop the game. So I think one of the messages that's really important to deliver across the country, and John Herdman's been magnificent at this since he's come into the job on the men's side, is we're all in this together, and we are all Canadian soccer. We're all Canada soccer. And if we're going to sit there and nitpick and criticize each other all the time, we're not going to get anywhere. We have to play as a team when it comes to developing the game in this country.
I mean, it's a great message, it's a great soundbite, but as you say, you were very critical when you were part of the media side, so to speak. Do you think, well, we'll just pause for a moment as TFC come forward looking for that second goal. They'll get a corner. Do you feel that across the country the fragmentation that you used to criticize has begun to heal, that there is that coming together, that we are actually all in the same boat?
I do think that, but it requires a lot of work, and obviously the job that we're doing in my department is about building relationships with people and about working with the provinces, working with the territories, working with the stakeholders of soccer at the grassroots level to give them a voice, to give them a say, and to involve them in the decision making that obviously we have to make about the game.
And you've traveled literally all over the country over the last 18. I mean, you have.
I have. It's been wonderful, and I've been amazed, Nigel, and maybe not amazed is not the right word for it, given the reputation that Canadians have for being hospitable. But the reception I've received in every place I've been to, from I've been as far east as St. John's, I've been as far west as Vancouver Island, as far north as Yellowknife, Betchico, Northwest Territories. Every single person that I've met on my travels has welcomed me and Canada Soccer with open arms and asked, how can we help? How can we help make the game better? How can we help make the game stronger in this country? Which really shows, you know, our unity, I think, from coast to coast, and the pride that people have in the Canadian flag.
But you mentioned there about having a voice. Do you feel that these far-flung corners of our wonderful country, do you get the impression from your travels that their voice actually is being heard and is making a difference?
I'm certainly listening to them, and my staff are as well. So the work that we're doing in the development department, and certainly in coach education, is about giving the experts across the country, and they exist in every province and territory, giving them a say on how we're going to do things moving forward, and giving them the flexibility to implement some of the changes we're proposing in a regional way. So what works in British Columbia won't work in Prince Edward Island. What works in Prince Edward Island won't work in Saskatchewan. So we have to give the provinces and the membership the flexibility to regionalize some of the things that we're looking for. The standards don't change with what we're looking for in terms of coaching qualifications and delivery and environments for players, and trying to give as many kids as possible as good an experience in the game for as long as possible. That doesn't change. But the regional differences in our country are so vast that we have to give the regions and the provinces and the territories a little bit of flexibility in how they implement things.
There will be a new level in the spring of 2019. The Canadian Premier League debuts. Thoughts on that, and how it might bridge that gap between young, promising amateurs and paid professionals?
Well, you look at the 3 MLS clubs, and you look at their academy systems, and they've invested, vast sums of money into the development of those academy programs. As we just see this chance cleared by a Canadian, Nana Atakora. Playing for the opposite side this time. He's got a history with both teams, obviously. But as I was saying, CPL, Nigel, the CPL, you look at the kids in the academy, the biggest step up in a professional sense is from being a youth team player to being a senior team player. And that's the big challenge, and that's where we lose a lot of players. But players and young players especially don't develop in a linear way. player development, we always talk about this at the grassroots level. It applies to teenage players as well. It's non-linear. So for some players, it's going to take them a little bit longer to mature. It might take until they're 21 or 22 to be able to compete at a senior level. But right now, we don't have enough professional environments for those young players that come out of an academy system to play professional first-team football. So that's going to give, the CPL is going to give these players that opportunity that's missing right now.
And it's, you know, building itself up as a league built by Canadians for Canadians, and that really has to be the message, that bridge, as you say, and to give some of these players somewhere to develop their careers, to get meaningful minutes, and where obviously the fans in those cities, you know, can think, well, I can be a Man United fan, but I can also support Forge in FC in Hamilton or Valor in Winnipeg. I can get behind my local team.
Yeah,
and that's so important, isn't it?
It is important. I mean, you think about how culture grows and how culture develops in soccer, and it grows organically. It's not something that can be manufactured per se. And what I really like about the way that the CPL groups have gone about their business is that they've tried to be organic. They've been tried to include the fans in the process, to give them a voice, to give them a say of what their club's going to be. These are all brand new franchises that are coming into existence, brand new clubs that are coming into existence. So in many ways, it's about trying to build that culture from the ground up.
What about the business model as far as that's concerned? Because it's got to work, but it has to have a viable business model. There have been other versions of Canadian leagues over the years, as you well know, and you know, talking to some of the movers and shakers, you know, I think they are cognizant of that. But they want to put on as good a product as they can possibly do. Delgado in, another corner for Toronto FC as they search for this second goal, which would give them a 3-0 lead. And if they get that second goal, you'd think it's probably curtains for Ottawa. And so, yes, fiscally, it has to be a league that can support itself.
I mean, I think everyone's cognizant of that. Everyone's aware of that. Unfortunately, it's not my remit to solve that problem. I've got my hands full with coach education and player development.
But I know you have an opinion on everything.
I do, that's true. I mean, obviously, it has to make sense financially, and it has to be viable and sustainable.
And can it be in Canada, given the culture of the, you know, archetypal, stereotypical Canadian sports fan?
Well, there's things that we can't change, and that's the size of our country and the climate in our country. So unfortunately, we can't make Canada smaller, but that can also be our strength.
Just pause for a moment as Jay Chapman, well, everybody's pausing for the moment, including the assistant referee. Toronto FC, the Canadian champions for the last couple of years, looking to get back for the final again. Chapman with the right-footed outswinger, and Akinola got his head to it but couldn't control it over the top for a goal kick. So you were saying, can't control the climate.
You can't control the size of the country.
Can't control the size of the country.
There are going to be costs involved in flying teams around the country to play in competitive matches, for sure. But, you know, think back, cast your memory back to 2007, Toronto FC.
Yes.
You know, they launched their MLS franchises. Who could have ever dreamed that they would win MLS Cup and get to the final of the CONCACAF Champions League all those years ago? All those years of suffering that the fans went through. But now that's ingrained in the history of this club. And in terms of global football, Toronto FC is still a baby in terms of its growth and maturity. It still has a lot of growing to do. So, you know, ultimately, the expression is that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But if you didn't plant one 20 years ago, the best time to plant one is now. So you have to start somewhere, Nigel, and I think it's an important piece that people understand. If the game's going to grow and thrive professionally across the country, we have to support it. I think I'm member number 265 on Hamilton Forge FC because that's my local club, and I've already told my son we're going to get tickets and we're going to go watch the games because that's what you do and that's how you build a culture. And I was very fortunate to experience that culture in the UK, your home country, and see what that's like and how fervent the support can be. And I hope that one day we're going to see the same thing in Canadian cities across the country supporting a Canadian professional soccer league.
We talked about Alphonso Davies. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Ayo Akinola, who's scored his first senior goal. Nothing doing, says the referee, despite the boos ringing around BMO Field. Ayo Akinola, we believe he's a dual citizen. We think he's born in Brampton, so he should qualify for Canada. 18 years of age on the day that... and here he is again, right on cue, Akinola, trying to put it inside. For one or two of his teammates, Jordan Hamilton couldn't quite get there. But, I mean, there's nothing like playing. There's nothing like scoring a goal. And, you know, as you see, planting that tree. So maybe Akinola is one to watch as well for the future.
You know, I think having spoken with John Herdman and his staff, Joey Lombardi specifically, looking at the player pool, there's a lot of Canadian players that are out there that we need to be able to uncover. And knowing John and Joey as I do, I know that they're going to move heaven and earth to make sure that they find every last talent that exists out there. And
last thought to you. So you've got 8 years. We've all got 8 years to buy our Canadian scarves, make that emotional investment and say we're going to see Canada play on Canadian soil, we hope, at the FIFA World Cup in 2026. I mean, it's a vast and an unfair question, but where would you like to see your role? Where would you like to see Canadian soccer by the time everybody rolls up in 2026?
Well, I don't want us to wait until 2026. This has to start today.
Sure.
I mean, I started 2 years ago, near enough, when I took this job and took on this challenge, and I'm relishing it. I'm loving the opportunity to help grow and develop the game. You know, I look at you know, the upcoming fixture here in Toronto, the men's national team playing here on October 16th.
Yep.
Come out and support the team. Come out and watch the next generation of Canadians represent our country with pride and cheer them on to victory, because they need your support. I've been very fortunate to wear that jersey on several occasions, and I can tell you, when you've got vocal support behind you, it lifts you, it gives you wings, and it allows you to go to another level and find another gear that you maybe thought you didn't have. So I've seen it on the women's side firsthand, just how much of an effect that can have on the players in a positive way when the fans get behind the team. I'm hopeful the same thing's going to happen on the men's side in October.
It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Your views are always well thought out and always very opinionated. I wish you every success until we meet again.
Thanks, Nigel. It's been like rolling back the years here for you
Just
and me,
a
hasn't it?
It has a little, but it's always good to hear your voice and hear your opinions. And there's many Canadian fans who remember you as a player and as an advocate for Canadian soccer, and we appreciate it, pal.
Well, thanks, Nigel. It's great to hear your voice again and to sit in the booth with you and keep up the great work.
We will do our best. Jason DeVos, Canada Soccer's Director of Development, as Hamilton looks to put it beyond doubt. Charge down on the edge of the area. And Jimmy Sanon, the Haitian substitute for the impact, belts it away. Interesting insight from Jason DeVos. We hope you enjoyed that interview as I gently welcome back soccer analyst Kurt Larson to the booth.
Didn't think you were ever going to let me back in there.
Oh, I was always having you back. I get DeVos on the mic. It's sometimes difficult to tear him away from the headset.
He used to do this, so he knows this booth well.
He does. We spent some very happy times in here some years ago. But he makes a lot of sense, to be fair, in terms of his insight into Canadian soccer. Offside against Akinola, looking for his second. I mean, he's been there, done it as a player, now as an administrator. That's the sort of personality that Canada Soccer has taken on board, has welcomed, you know, as somebody who went through the ringer when, you know, there was no such thing as BMO Field.
Yeah, and he's been through the system, he's worked in the system, he's been overseas, he's seen how the systems work overseas. And we're always used to love talking to Jason and interviewing him, done it many times, just because the stories he has and maybe some of the ideas he has to help grow the sport here and get it to where it needs to be and where we think it can be. It's just always entertaining and always interesting to relay those messages to readers and fans and supporters.
It is the Canadian Championship semi-final first leg of the Battle of the North continuing. Toronto FC in red, the Ottawa Fury in white. Ottawa trailing on the night by a single goal, 2-0 overall. So if they're going to get themselves back into this game, Kurt, they need a goal, and they need one pretty quickly as Jay Chapman comes forward.
Yeah, and to me it looks like Toronto FC right now is probably the more likely to find a second than Ottawa is to find a first. The game's kind of opening up, and
seeing more 3-on-3 opportunities and quick breaks. Of course, Ottawa has to take a few more chances going forward, but I think it's only a matter of time maybe before Toronto FC puts this to bed.
Brian Telfer has switched wings over on the right-hand side now. Jordan Hamilton on at half-time. Also on the field now, Ashton Morgan. It's just behind him, who replaced Chris Mavinga 5 minutes ago.
Looks like Chris Manella, the former TFC player. I think he was the TFC2 captain, getting his final instructions here to come on. Big moment for him, a good moment. I saw him talking to Michael Bradley before the game. They had a nice discussion, some hugs and hellos. Respected player here, and just didn't get his opportunity playing behind Michael Bradley, of course. Liam Fraser coming up. We'll see what he can do when he comes on here.
Yeah, Manella, another product of the TFC Academy. Toronto is hometown, so he'd love to get on the field under the lights against the red shirts of the current title holders. TFC played, I think, the whole game. Certainly started the game last week. Got a feeling they may have played 90 minutes, might have come off late in the game. And Chris Manella will get his opportunity for the last 25 minutes. There he is, 24 years of age, so another Canadian on the field. And takes the place of another Canadian. Jamar Dixon takes his leave. Jimmy Sanon, the Haiti international, looking for a way around. He's got good pace, hasn't he? Not to be denied by a last-ditch tackle. It'll be a corner for Ottawa. And timely intervention from Justin Morrow.
Hernandez was beat there for pace. He's not as young as he used to be in Sanon.
How many of us are as young? No, let's not go down that route.
Rounds the corner there. Yeah. Great recovery by Justin Morrow to get in. Is clean. Makes it out for a corner.
So Portilla will take the left-footed in-swinger from that far side. This might be Ottawa's best route back into the game. Referee's whistle has gone for a push in the box. Again, decent delivery from Portilla. But it all comes to nothing once again for the Ottawa Fury.
I've seen a few of those for Portilla.
Yeah.
Can't tell if he's going for goal, if they've seen something on the tape that Clint Irwin doesn't like, but it's come close to dangerous ball. Wonder if they might be better served to play closer to the penalty spot, but interesting delivery.
Morrow, just to find Ashton Morgan, pokes it down the left-hand side. Nana Adekora in the way. And Adekora will have a chance to clear a second time. Ball went out of play before curling back in. So I think with, what, 3/4 of the game done, Kurt, you would have to say that Toronto FC are looking comfortable. I'm sure they'd like to pad their lead, but if they don't, it'll be job done.
Looks like Jonathan Osorio is going to come on here, so Greg Vanney maybe reading your mind there to maybe add a second or third in the series to end it. But it's a job well done. They haven't expended a ton of energy tonight, I don't think. That'll suit them well for the weekend. A big game against Chicago here. TFC needs to win if they're to get back in the playoff hunt.
Hamilton trying to turn the corner. Delgado couldn't quite get there. Gagnon Lapare managed to scramble it away and win the throw as well. Lapare scooting across to take the free kick. Time the enemy now for Ottawa. Rio Giguère back to Crepeau. It's the sort of thing that puts more grey hairs on the head of a coach, but Crepeau got away with it. Portilla looking for Adonijah Reid. No relation. Different spelling as well, by the way. And I would never have had his athletic genes. But just 18 years of age. On loan from FC Dallas. And here is the final substitution. Jonathan Osorio on. Listen to the ovation for Jonathan Osorio. What an impression and what a year he's had.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Jonathan Osorio before the start of the season and asked him what it was going to be like to play without a contract going into next year, and he said he relished the opportunity to prove his worth. And we saw during the Champions League run, I believe he was Golden Boot winner in that tournament, and of course here he's doing well during the season. Where would they be without Jonathan Osorio at this point?
Leading scorer, and he has really added that ammunition to his game this season. The foul was on Steven Dos Santos, who makes his way towards the edge of the penalty area. White shirts of the Ottawa Fury, 5 in a line. Is this the route to goal? Because Ottawa need a goal from somewhere. Clint Irwin has 3 in the wall.
Would it be the worst idea here to maybe bounce one right in front of Clint?
Oliveira then must be licking his chops. He got very close from this sort of range and this sort of angle a couple of times in Ottawa last week. If it's going to happen, you have to feel it has to happen now, and it's not far over. Again, Irwin wasn't sure, and Oliveira almost caught him out.
Clint Irwin, he just hasn't looked sure goal since he's coming in. He didn't have the best outing in Minnesota a few weeks back, and it's smart of Oliveira to test him there. They haven't really gotten much off the set pieces and didn't miss by much.
It came down very quickly, started to knuckle, and Irwin was scrambling momentarily. In the end, it landed on the roof of the net to his and everybody else's relief, I'm sure, except for those in white. Telfer collects the loose ball. Can he keep it in? He can't. And a throw to Ottawa. 20 minutes to go in the Battle of the North. Later tonight, we will be out west at BC Place on CanadaSoccer.com for the second leg between the Vancouver Whitecaps and the Montreal Impact. Both English and French play-by-play you can catch right here on CanadaSoccer.com. Irwin out quickly, and in the end decisively finds Ashton Morgan. So Toronto FC, if they can keep their noses in front, will book one of the places in the final. Montreal leading by a goal in that second leg. Morgan is offside. They're all offside. Ball ends up in the back of the net, but the flag was up early. So Montreal heading into Vancouver with a 1-goal lead. I just wonder whether Alphonso Davies might feature. Last I heard, he was down in Philadelphia hobnobbing with his new club, who were on their pre-season tour of the US and are playing in Philadelphia. But that's a story for later. But we'll tell you all about it on CanadaSoccer.com.
Talking about Davies, we have a young player here in Adonai Jareed, who I think has been pretty exciting up in Ottawa this year. It'll be really interesting to see what he can do here in the last 20 minutes or so. Didn't really get his opportunity in Dallas yet. They've loaned him up here. He's done really well. Got extremely good pace.
Yeah.
Nose for goal. He seems to know what he does, know what to do when he gets dangerous areas in and around the penalty area.
Osorio battling for possession on the edge of that Ottawa penalty area. In quickly was Fraser. Hamilton couldn't keep the move going. Now Osorio again, talking about playing with confidence. His must be through the roof so far. 7 goals in Major League Soccer, plus the winner in Ottawa in the Canadian Championship last week. Gagnon Laparé away from Akinola and out of play as well. That's not going to help. It's got to be a little bit more precise from Ottawa. 17 minutes plus stoppage time, so perhaps 20 minutes in total. Ottawa has to find 2 goals to erase those scored by Osorio a week ago and Akinola tonight. Morgan's got an acres of room on that far side. Adekora flicks it behind for the corner.
just think Adekor has got to do better with that instead of giving it away a corner. Maybe twist his hips, knock it out for at least a throw-in upfield. Now he's giving Toronto FC a dangerous corner here. They're going to take short.
And they have taken it quickly as well. Delgado. Danger here for the Fury. They need to get themselves organized quickly. Half away. But plenty of red shirts still forward for Toronto FC. They'll go back to halfway and rebuild with Morgan and Hagland. That came at him at an awkward height. That's got away with it. Morgan again inside for Liam Fraser. Hagland has Telfer on the right-hand side. He is bypassed for the time being. He was looking for Osorio. Slightly difficult bounce again. Now this could be interesting. Well, terrific improvisation by Clint Irwin as Dos Santos closed in for the kill. Owen knew he was outside his area, couldn't handle it, but managed to deal with it with his chest.
It's well done from Irwin there. He's very alert.
Yeah.
Dos Santos would have been favored to get on that when you see it go over the top like that. Lovely little ball played in.
Nice raking ball for Telford. Telford's just gone down just as he received the ball, started to feel his left leg, and Telfer is down in a heap midway inside the Ottawa half of the field as play goes on around him, but Telfer may not be able to continue. We'll come back to that in a moment. He's clearly in some discomfort, and I think that's putting it mildly. Something obviously went as TFC play on. Morgan looking for the ball across, and there is the second goal, and Jordan Hamilton sticks out a right boot, and the Canadian puts the tie to bed. Two Canadians combining, Ashton Morgan and Jordan Hamilton. 2-0 Toronto FC, 3-0 on aggregate.
I suppose that's why maybe you play on despite having a player injured. Telfer getting tended to. It looks like a cramp. They're stretching him out. Ashton Morgan here on the left. Lovely little ball played low. But he gets across Hamilton, and it's an easy goal. The easiest one he'll score this season. The series is surely over now. Let's check in here on Telfer to see how he's doing. TFC suffered so many injuries this season. Looks like Telfer's getting back up to his feet.
Yeah, he's still getting some attention close to the touchline as the goal scorer Hamilton makes his way back to halfway. Well, was it cramp or was it something worse? He received the ball and immediately felt his left leg. Now, it may just be cramp, maybe just needs a drink and some rehydration. But at the moment, he's not on the field, so for the time being, it's 11 v 10 in favor of the white shirts of the Fury. Is there a way back for Ottawa, who now trail by 3 goals? Telfer is now moving more comfortably. He has had some refreshment and is waiting on halfway. We'll wait for the referee signal to rejoin the action. Challenge on Akinola, and it's going to be a yellow card, and that's unnecessary from Oliveira, who raised his hands as well. Bit of frustration creeping into the Fury play.
Ottawa's so good through the first half hour, defending and really not giving up much by way of chances to Toronto FC, and I don't think Popovich is going to like the way they've conceded tonight. It's been too easy. How is there no defender there at the front post to knock that clear? It's a free ball into the middle of the 6. TFC will take it, but there's some questions in Ottawa about how they were able to, why they were conceding the goals in the way they did.
Ryan Telfer, by the way, is back on the field and moving a lot freer, so it would appear that it was no more than cramp, but it can be very painful when the leg locks up. But he's okay now, so we're back 11 v 11. It's what, perhaps 15 minutes to play when you add on the stoppage time. But Toronto FC looking unbeatable from this position, leading on aggregate by 3-0. It would take a meltdown of epic proportions for the Fury to cause an upset from here. But if they were to get one, maybe the momentum would switch just a little.
They just haven't created much of anything tonight, have they?
They haven't, no. They haven't, in all honesty. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Oliveira in particular was much more effective a week ago in that first leg. Hasn't really had his best stuff tonight. But credit to TFC, they've done a good job on the key danger men. Dos Santos hasn't really had too many sights of goal. Had that run through, what, 5 minutes ago, and Irwin was alert to the danger.
Chris Mavinga makes all the difference across TFC's back line, and Hernandez has done well tonight. They brought him in earlier in the season as kind of an emergency signing, hoping he can stay with the club long term, maybe in the coaching side of things. But TFC's defense has stood tall. They haven't given anything away. Decent defending set pieces too, which I thought maybe Ottawa could take advantage of. We'll see what they can do with this one, but chances few and far between for the visitors here tonight.
All the substitutes used as Portilla slips one up the line. But beyond the reach of Jimmy Sanon. And with 10 minutes remaining, Toronto FC looking eminently comfortable. 2-goal lead on the night, scored by 2 Canadians. Akinola, who, well, let's be fair, is a dual citizen. And Jordan Hamilton, who's very much Canadian. In the semi-finals of the Canadian Championship, Toronto FC winners for the last 2 years and determined to make it a hat-trick come August, when the 2-legged semi-final will take place against either the Vancouver Whitecaps or Montreal Impact, who will play their conclusive leg later on. Impact leading that by a single goal. But Vancouver with home advantage. That might be very interesting, that game.
Yeah, you'd think from a TFC perspective they'd prefer a Montreal game, just so they don't have to travel cross country, and they're trying to get back into the league play.
Yeah.
Plus, we saw last season with that series and how it ended, and the drama here on that night. Crépeau was in goal that night. He's in goal for Ottawa, of course, now, but he was in goal, and I remember him sprawled out on the field as Javinko scored in stoppage time to win that series. But all to play for out of BC Place.
Sanon again. Did he get a touch? He did not. Ashton Morgan just shepherded the ball behind. And a goal kick to the home side. And from a Toronto FC bigger picture perspective, I suppose, without wanting to preempt how this might end, Greg Vanney can be content that he hasn't had to bring on the Bradleys and the Javinkos and the Ricketts for this game, save those fresh legs for the weekend, perhaps.
Yeah, Wednesday is typically a hard practice day for a lot of these teams, so I think he's going to be happy with getting an Altidore run out, and Altidore does well. There's no injuries. Chris Mavinga shows well again, comes off not injured. Some good performances here by the young players. I think Telfer has been very good tonight. Akinola, of course, scores the goal. It's going to give him some confidence. Let's see what Reed can do here.
Elijah Reed on loan from FC Dallas, and down a red cul-de-sac, but they managed to retain possession with Manella, who sweeps it out to Edward on that far side. Got plenty of room to measure the cross if he can provide the service. Osorio, across it comes, but too close to Clint Irwin. Just catching practice for the TFC goalie, and they stride downfield again with Jordan Hamilton. Everything to his left, shaping up against Mir Giguère. And And there's loads of room here. There's loads of room for Jonathan Osorio. Osorio's done it again. Jonathan Osorio with the icing on the cake. And now there is no doubt Toronto FC bound for the final of the Canadian Championship. They lead 3-0 on the night and 4-0 on aggregate.
Ottawa just not getting back behind the ball there. A bit defeated, possibly. This little ball sprayed out by Delgado to start that play, to start that move to Osorio. Let's see if we get a second look at it. See that ball to Delgado. Osorio. Bad first touch, but he does well to cut inside here. Puts the target. If you hit the target from that range, good things are going to happen. I think that's double-digit goals for him in all competitions. What a career for Jonathan Osorio. There's no wonder some Bundesliga teams are looking at him.
Maybe he'll join up with Alphonso Davies in the not-too-distant future.
I haven't heard Bayern. I haven't heard Bayern Munich yet, but
well, I mean, if you play well and you are a threat and you can bring it on a weekly basis, I mean, that's what happens in this game. Other teams start looking at you and start sniffing around, and then your agent gets in your ear. And so, I mean, that's the price of success. What are you supposed to do? Sort of hide on the soccer field? Of course not. Every player wants to play at the highest level.
Most impressive part of, I think, Osorio's campaign this year, I think, is just how he performed in the Champions League. I mean, at Tigres, he does well in the midfield. At Azteca against America, he's one of the best players in that game. He's shown up in big games. And
yes, he has. He has. And there was a time, and I, to be perfectly honest with you, it was only last season. And, you know, when he first came on the scene, we thought, what a great young prospect he's going to be. And then I thought he got to a certain level, and then his game didn't advance. But he's added that confidence of having a go, of not necessarily looking for a teammate, for taking the responsibility and not being frightened to miss. And those goals and those assists have brought him up very quickly, in my opinion, this year.
I think he's just added something to his game every year. I mean, this year it's been the diagonal runs in behind back lines. It's been finishing plays. It's been trying to get on the end of crosses. What I'll say about Jonathan Osorio is just through my conversations with him is just his drive and his tenacity. And he found himself out of the lineup a few years ago, and he's fought to get back into it. It's tough competition. There's Victor Vasquez has been there. Aguirre Keche comes in. He's at risk of losing his spot, and he fights through that and finds a place in the starting lineup. So it's something that I think John Herdman's going to take notice of, just his tenacity and his willingness to battle and fight for his spot.
Well, one of the interesting things that John said to us on the broadcast a week ago was, you know, Canadian international jerseys, we can't just give them away. I mean, they're not freebies. They've got to be earned. And to your point, Osorio has earned his place back with his club and has earned his place back with his national team.
Yeah, he had that weird run under Benito Floro where he found himself out of the team.
Correct.
Various reports on why that happened. I don't think Osorio was quite positive why that happened. But he's firmly back in it, and he's humble, and he's putting his work in. We'll see where he ends up next year, whether it's right back here at BMO Field or somewhere overseas.
There are several thousand TFC fans who just cranked the volume there and said, what did Larson just say? What did he say about Osorio? Where's he going? Well, the answer is nowhere for the time being, but it is the price of success. That's the way professional soccer works. If you're good at your job, and very good at your job, the offers start pouring in. Here is the aforementioned Osorio. Scored in both legs now. Akinola, who scored in one and opened the scoring before half-time. Delgado, nicely done for Telfer. Telfer goes for goal. Crepeau denies him at the near post. Well covered by the Impact goalkeeper. He's on loan from the Impact, of course, to the Ottawa Fury. So I guess I was half right. Couple of minutes remaining plus stoppage time.
You know, regardless of what happens here tonight, I think it's a loan move for Crepeau that's made a lot of sense for him. He's been, a lot of people have said he's been one of the best players in Ottawa this season. He's gotten a lot of games in, more tape for scouts and wherever else he might end up. Certainly John Herdman taking a look at him for future Nations League games in Canada, but tonight's not on him, and it's been a good move for him up to Ottawa. He's made a difference up there.
Well, deep pools are a coach's delight when it comes to the national coach, because you can only pick those who have a Canadian passport, and Crepeau certainly has one of those, as does Ashton Morgan, as does this man Liam Fraser. Nick Hagland on the ball. Final minute of the 90. And there is no doubt now that Toronto FC will advance to the championship final, or finals. It will be a two-legged affair. Mid-August. Check CanadaSoccer.com for all the details. It's just a matter of who Toronto FC will face in that final. It'll either be the Whitecaps or the Impact. Osorio cleverly, quickly out to his fellow countryman Ashton Morgan on that far side. They win the corner.
There's just so much space out there now for Toronto FC.
Yes, there is.
Ottawa defending a bit narrow. Obviously, they see the writing on the wall here that they're going to look ahead to their next league games, important league games against Louisville, and I think Tampa. I think both of those games are in Ottawa and important to their playoff standing. 2 minutes here, added time. Toronto FC going to be able to kill this off here, I think, play back.
And it's important for Ottawa Fury. They've won their last couple of home games in the league and have managed to get themselves into USL playoff contention. They'll want to stay there, so it's important this doesn't knock the confidence too much. Hagland, Fraser turns, Morrow, and now it's just a matter of keep ball for Toronto FC. This is all over as a contest. Morgan, can they add a fourth? Adekora did well, as Hamilton was threatening in behind him.
Morgan just feasting on that space out there right now.
Isn't he ever? Is he ever? Hamilton using his strength to turn. Morgan again. But just try and play keep ball down in the corner. Doesn't really matter. 4-goal deficit overall. There's no way that the Fury can make that up in the next 90 seconds or so. Looking for a little bit of respectability. When they came here last year in the second leg, they were knocked off 4-0. 3-0 tonight. Plus the goal that TFC scored in Ottawa a week ago, so 4-0 overall. Crepeau clears over halfway, looking for Dos Santos. Hasn't really had any clear-cut chances. Fraser nodding it back, and well, it's all a little bit of exhibition head tennis from Toronto FC in these closing seconds. That'll do it. Mr. Lozier points towards the centre circle, blows his final whistle, and Toronto FC with 3 goals either side of half-time. Akinola, Hamilton and Osorio, 3 Canadians, making sure that the Canadian champions move on to the finale of the 2018 Canadian Championship, beating Ottawa Fury by 3-0 on the night and 4-0 Kurt on aggregate.
Yeah, I think maybe this series was lost in the first leg. You would have liked to have seen Ottawa maybe get a result there and come back and make things a bit more interesting. They did well for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I think TFC just too much quality. They rolled out a few of their big guns to show their intention, but it's job done. And you know, this could be their season here with no playoffs in their future possibly, so they'll look to get back to the Champions League and look forward to whoever's next.
Kurt, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your thoughts tonight. So, in the end, it was very comfortable for the defending champions. 4-0 aggregate victory for Toronto FC over the Ottawa Fury.